remember walking into this great hall the first time and just not believing it. It was just so amazing. It's a magic place to be.
Early on in the process, there was talk about us actually shooting the Great Hall in locations.
Christchurch College in Oxford have a great hall, was the inspiration for this one, but it wouldn't have made a good set. So we decided to build a great hall.
You know, I found out they were doing it in the studio. And I thought, how are they going to create something so vast? You know, will it be as big as it should be?
There was a lot of talk about the size of the Great Hall. I seem to remember that Joe Rowling wrote about these 900 kids gathering there for lunch and dinner, and we realized that that was impossible to do. So we whittled it down to a place that would probably hold about 400, 500 kids, and that felt large enough.
I'll say 1, 2, 3, and action. The food appears. Set. 1, 2, 3, action.
I think what's good about it is that even though it's a source of so much magic, it's firmly rooted in reality. And I think that makes the magic all the stronger when it unexpectedly grows out of something that is seemingly so real.
I mean, most sets are kind of literally all polystyrene and fake wood and everything, but a lot of the stuff that's in the Great Hall is real stone, real wood.
We built a lot of fire into the Great Hall, so it just had this sense of warmth and magic. However, the floating candlesticks were a bit of a problem because we decided to do them practically as opposed to creating them in a CGI environment. So we placed hundreds of floating candles above tables with tiny strings, and all of those candles had to be lit before each take, and all of them were on a sort of a pulley system where they moved up and down so they felt like they were floating.
It's not real, the ceiling. It's just the witch to look like the night sky. I read about it in Hogwarts, a history.
When we did the shot where we craned down through all of these floating candles, you couldn't see the strings. Everyone in the screening room applauded that day. It's just stunning. Stunning work from John Seale.
It was incredible. It was amazing. Like, no acting required.
Come on, guys. This one will be the last day. No matter what happens. Focus. Big reaction. That's all I'm One, please. Ready?
The only problem when you've got loads of people is you find that the breaks aren't as much because they've got to move so many people out and so many people back in again.
I'm tremendously kind of amazed by the level of commitment to control that the kids have got. I would never have imagined, just from going to school, drop my daughter off, that you could get together that many kids without chaos breaking out, and yet they all seem very dedicated to what they're doing, very focused, very clear, and they take direction amazingly well. And there's 300 kids in a room.
Chris was in the Great Hall with about 350 children, and if one came up and talked to him, he would automatically just sit down as though he'd known them all his life.
I don't know how he does it. If I was him, I have 100 kids running around with his but he's kept his cool all the way down and he's really nice with everyone.
He has helped us through the whole entire film. I've learned so much. I feel like I've learned so much through the acting experience.
Got it?
Chris had this tremendous enthusiasm, which is what was very much needed on those first two films, because, you know, if we came on to the first two films and the director had been horrible, I don't think any of us ever would have acted again.
When we began the process of finding our director, we spoke to several really fine directors. Even Steven Spielberg came on for a while, and he decided to work on them.
When I read the book, it was just at the beginning of the phenomenon. And I called my agent and I said, you know, I think I would really like to make a movie of this material. I really, really responded to it. I saw the movie in my head when I read the first book. I saw the world. And my agent said, well, you're going to have to get in line. There are about 50 other directors who also want to make this into a movie. And I was completely sort of stunned because I hadn't been following it that closely, and I didn't realize, and then she sent me a list of the people who were, you know, in contention, and I thought there is no way, shape, or form I'm going to get this job. And Rob Reiner was on the list, Steven Spielberg was on the list, everyone was on the list. And she said, Warner Brothers is willing to have an interview with you.
Chris arrived at the meeting with a script. He himself had taken 2 weeks on his own, writing on spec a draft of the script. And he really thought through how he wanted to approach it.
I think at that moment, they probably realized that I was very, very, very serious about making a great film out of this material.
We met a lot of people, and ultimately it came down to studio comfort and also the person who had the most passion for the material. And it was Chris Columbus who emerged as the favorite and got the job.
I got a call from one of the executives who said, "You're our guy, we're gonna go with you." So it was an amazing moment. It was an amazing moment because I remember walking into the kitchen of my house and telling my wife, "I got the job. I got the Potter gig. We're moving to London."
This is Chris with Dan and his head covered and with Chris's young daughter. The amazing thing about Chris, one of the amazing things about Chris, during the pre-production period, his family lives in San Francisco, and he would fly every Friday to San Francisco and come back for Monday morning because he thought it was important for him to spend the weekend with his kids. Pretty impressive as far as I'm concerned. And this is what it made him look like.
Hit the door.
Go guys, all together, all together.
My favourite set is the chess set, which is amazing.
This is so cool to walk on, right? Yeah. It's so great when it's lit up.
And there's the door.
Probably my favorite example of Stuart Craig's production design was the gigantic chess set. I just loved the attention to detail and the look of those pieces. I mean, they looked as if they were made out of real stone. I wanted to take all of them back home for my office in San Francisco because they're just stunning.
Now, don't be offended or anything, but neither of you are particularly good at chess. Yeah, you loser.
It was also one of my favorite scenes in the book and the film because Ron actually sacrifices himself.
Just tell us what to do. Alright then. Harry, you take the empty bishop square, and Hermione, you'll be the queenside horse. And as for me, I'll be a knight.
That's Ron's kind of moment, and it's the first time he really takes charge. And he gets to ride this great big horse.
That was really exciting because I got to sit on the horse. I remember really enjoying that. Actually, the coolest thing about it was when the pieces got smashed because they actually exploded. We've actually still got a broken piece of the horse. That was cool.
Let me walk up someone. That was certainly one of my favorite scenes to shoot in the picture because it was just beautifully designed by Stuart Craig and beautifully lit by John Seale.
When I make my move, the queen will take me. Then you're free to check the king.
Rupert was so strong in that moment.
Harry, you take the empty bishop square.
We shot that as we were getting closer to the end of the picture, and at that time the kids were really starting to come into their own as actors, and the kids delivered just wonderful performances there.
Rehearsing and action!
I still need a wand.
One. What do you want, Ollivander? Ain't no place better.
We all felt that Diagon Alley looked like the Dickensian world, so that was a bit of a challenge because you think, is there anywhere in London where we can actually shoot Diagon Alley? Well, the reality is that world that we think still exists somewhere. There's very few places look like that, and if they do look like that, there's always a phone shop or something modern or a grocery store that you can fix, but you can't really recreate it completely. So we realized we'd have to build it, and Stuart built it in a way that had a sense of forced perspective about it. So it appears to go on forever.
As you can see, the street ends in a green screen. So in the book, your impression is of a much longer, much more complicated street. For the scenes that we have to shoot, this is sufficient. It's a great challenge in the detail, and as you can see, there aren't any vertical lines in it whatsoever.
Getting it just right so it looked like a Dickensian street, I think that was the hardest challenge.
I had an absolutely obsessive assistant on the first film, one who was deeply into Harry Potter, and she masterminded Diagon Alley with everything catalogued, and we took all the names from the book and just sort of expanded them.
Oh, Jenny, do you want to do the upstairs bit as well?
One of the things you don't really see in the movie, each shop had a shopkeeper that looked like they matched their shops. So there was a wizard apothecary, there was a wizard candy maker, and when you saw these characters all dressed up on the first day of Diagon Alley with Stuart's set and all the props and the set dressing, everybody had big smiles on their faces that day.
Yep, right there is excellent.
It was a very, very magical place to shoot.
Scared of taking that one. I want to see some real fear. Set and action.
I think Ollivander's one shot has a nice feeling about it, has a nice character. I think it's dense and detailed, and I think John Hurt's appearance on that moving ladder was a good, simple idea.
Hello?
He comes, just sort of arrives on a trolley up with the bookshelves and to sit on the top of the screen, and it was a sensational shot. You could no actor could ask for a much better entrance.
I wondered when I'd be seeing you, Mr. Potter.